Namo Namaha. So today we are starting with the research methodology component. And because of NEP structure, you have got research methodology as a topic to be studied in the first seminar, and you have to first semester, and then you have to implement it in your assignments, papers. Then in next semesters, you will be having the research projects also. For that, research methodology component is very, very useful. Now, first we will try to understand what is research. In this particular lecture, we will try to understand what is research. ओके, संशोधन म्हणजे काय, ही संकल्पना नेमकी काय आहे हे आधी आपल्याला समजून घेतलं पाहिजे. त्याच्याशिवाय आपल्याला रिसर्च करता येणार नाही. ओके, so the word research in English we can see that it is formed of two things, re and search. So search means to investigate, to test, to examine, and re means again. So it is searching again. Means what happens, some existing knowledge is there and we research something in that, some new dimension is searched, some new perspective or new thought is also searched. Generally we are aware of the researches taking place in scientific realms, and we are not aware of the researches taking place in the languages or social sciences. And therefore, often we wonder that what may be research? Is there any research in languages or social sciences? So yes, there is research in languages, social sciences as well. Because in languages and social sciences also, the process of searching, investigating, examining is definitely continuous. And why research is important? Because we are adding to the knowledge realm. एक जी ज्ञान राशी आपण म्हणू शकतो किंवा ज्ञानाचा जो काही एक प्रांत आहे, त्याच्यामध्ये आपण आपलं योगदान जे आहे ते संशोधनाच्या माध्यमातून देत असतो. आणि त्यामुळे अशा प्रकारचं जे संशोधन आहे ते भाषा किंवा सामाजिक शास्त्र यांच्यामध्ये पण होताना दिसून येतं. Again, we have a misconception that research is something always, applied. त्याचं काहीतरी उपयोजनच असलं पाहिजे संशोधनाचं. Some application is there, it is always, beneficial to the society. But it may not be so. प्रत्येक संशोधनाचं काहीतरी उपयोजनच असेलच असं नाहीये. तो एक प्रकार झाला संशोधनाचा निश्चितपणे. So language research or the research in social sciences sometimes may not be directly related or useful to the society, to the masses, but that is definitely beneficial to widen the horizon of the knowledge. जो ज्ञानाचा एक प्रांत आहे किंवा ज्ञानाच्या ज्या कक्षा आहेत त्या विस्तृत करण्यासाठी निश्चितपणे त्या संशोधनाचा उपयोग होताना दिसून येतो. मग संशोधन करायचं म्हणजे नेमकं काय? आता काहीतरी शोधून काढायचं, काहीतरी शोध लावायचा म्हणजे आपल्याला असं वाटतं की हे काहीतरी आपल्या कल्पनेच्या पलीकडलं आहे, पण असं नाहीये. आपल्याला त्याची पद्धती समजून घेतली पाहिजे, नेमकं संशोधनाचं स्वरूप काय आहे ते समजून घेतलं पाहिजे, तर आपल्याला पुढे जाता येऊ शकतं. की संशोधन करताना नेमकं काय करायचं असतं, तर खरंच एक तर माहिती गोळा करावी लागते आपल्याला. वी हॅव टू कलेक्ट द डेटा विच इज रिलेटेड टू दॅट पर्टिक्युलर एरिया. देन वी हॅव टू कॅटेगराइज इट, इन्व्हेस्टिगेट, ऑब्झर्व, अनालाइज, कम्पेअर. ह्या अशा सगळ्या प्रक्रियेमधनं गेल्यानंतर आपल्याला आपली निरीक्षण नोंदवता येतात. देन वी कॅन record our observation and put it in the form of certain theories. Then it will be called as research. Means research is a systematic investigation that we have to ascertain in the mind. एक पद्धतशीर केलेली ती प्रक्रिया आहे, पद्धतशीर केलेलं विश्लेषण आहे. त्याच्याशिवाय संशोधन जे आहे ते पूर्ण होऊ शकत नाही. त्यामुळे संशोधन करताना किंवा संशोधनाच्या वेळेस संशोधनाचा विचार करताना नेहमी आपल्याला इतर प्रकारचं जे लेखन आहे त्याचा विचार करावा लागतो. प्लीज म्यूट युअर सेल्फ. हा, इतर प्रकारचे जे लेखन आहे त्याचा पण विचार करावा लागतो. वी हॅव टू बायफर्केट रिसर्च रायटिंग फ्रॉम अदर टाइप्स ऑफ रायटिंग. Somebody is writing simply on the blog, somebody is simply writing on different kind of platforms of the website, somebody may write in the newspaper, or general your answers which you write in the exam, they are different than research. Okay, because when simply you write on the blog or newspaper etc, it's not needed that it is a kind of research writing. एखादा ललित लेख एखादा असेल किंवा उद्बोधनात्मक एखादा लिहिलेला लेख असेल वर्तमानपत्रामध्ये किंवा वेगवेगळ्या मॅगझिन्स मध्ये मासिकांमध्ये आलेले जे लेख असतील ते संशोधनपरच असतील असं नाही. तो लेख म्हणून खूप छान असू शकेल पण तो संशोधनपर असेलच असं नाहीये. ओके, बिकॉज रिसर्च इज अ डिफरंट सेटिंग. It is systematic investigation and systematic writing. So it requires some kind of planning, execution, and implementation of it. Okay. So that is the overall general idea of the research. किंवा संस्कृत जो शब्द आहे संशोधनम, त्याचं पण जर आपण फोड करून बघितली तर सम्यक शोधनम असं करता येऊ शकेल. शोधनम म्हणजे काय? अगेन टू इन्व्हेस्टिगेट, टू सर्च. पण तेवढ्यापुरता त्याचा अर्थ मर्यादित नाहीये की फक्त काहीतरी शोधणं असं नव्हे, तर त्याचं परीक्षण करणं, टू एक्झामिन, अन्वेषण, समीक्षण, असे त्याला अनेक अर्थाचे पदर असल्याचं आपल्याला दिसून येतं. ओके, so there are different definitions of research. If you search for the definitions of research, to search or investigate exhaustively and studious inquiry or examination. To search or investigate exhaustively म्हणजे जो विषय घेतलेला आहे संशोधनासाठी त्याच्यावर विस्तृतपणे पहिल्यांदा शोधन करायचं आहे. यू हॅव टू सर्च दॅट टॉपिक एक्झॉस्टिव्हली. त्याच्याबद्दल जी जी उपलब्ध माहिती ती सगळी अगोदर गोळा करावी लागते. यू कॅन्ट have the partial investigation or biased investigation. You have to do it meticulously, exhaustively. It is a studious inquiry. खरंच तुम्हाला जिज्ञासा आहे आणि म्हणून तुम्ही त्याच्या प्रती वळलेला आहात. So it may be, then you have to go through a proper actions. So it may be experimentation or investigation, etc. And it is aimed at certain discovery or the interpretation of facts or revision of the accepted theories or laws in the light of new facts. Now, this is very general definition of research because research takes place in every area, in the sciences, social sciences, languages, etc., in the arts also. But when we apply it to Sanskrit, we have to understand those, concepts in different manner. म्हणजे एखादा जर विषय असेल तर आपल्याला त्याची पद्धतशीर अगोदर माहिती शोधून काढावी लागेल. सपोज समवन्स रिसर्च इज बेस्ड ऑन रामायण, then definitely one has to first read the Ramayana, and whatever concept is taken for investigation, one has to gain the information from every possible way. अगदी म्हणजे रामाचं चरित्र किंवा राम ही व्यक्तिरेखा हा जर विषय असू शकेल तर wherever those references are there, one has to collect. So that is investigating exhaustively, and it is a studious inquiry. So wherever those references are there should be noted down. Otherwise, if you read and just let it go, then it will be of no use at all. You have to note it down wherever you have found those references. So it is a serious, dedicated and sincere activity. This is very, very important. म्हणजे संशोधन हे हा काय म्हणायचं फावल्या वेळात करण्याची गोष्ट नव्हे की मला वेळ मिळाला तर मी करेन, मला कंटाळा आला की मी करेन. जसे आपले छंद असतात की नाही, आपण वेगवेगळे छंद जोपासतो की वेळ मिळाला तर करायचं, थोडासा वेळ मिळाला की मग तो जो काही छंद आहे तो जोपासायचा, असं नाही करून चालत. इट इज अ सिरियस ऍक्टिव्हिटी. सो वन्स यू आर कमिटेड टू दॅट पर्टिक्युलर रिसर्च, You have to do it meticulously. It is a dedicated activity. Then you have to read, complete Ramayana or complete Arthashastra or complete, Kalidasa's dramas, etc. Whatever you have undertaken. You can't just, justify that when I will get time, I will read some paragraphs or I will read just, someone's writing on that. No, it's not possible. It is serious activity. You have to dedicate yourself and sincere. You can't, find out shortcuts in that. Like I said, you can't skip Valmiki Ramayana if your research is based on Valmiki Ramayana. If your research is based on Kalidasa's dramas, you can't skip that. If your research is based on Yoga Sutras, you can't skip reading Yoga Sutras and read, different text on Yoga Sutra or just listen to some lectures and do your research at the end moment. No, it's not possible that way. So it is serious, dedicated, and sincere activity in pursuit of some interesting findings. Because whatever findings, you will get in the end, that will be definitely interesting and it will be your contribution to the knowledge. Therefore, you are feeling passionate about that. So, this is the basic characteristic of researchers. There are many, qualities of a researcher, but the basic quality of the researcher, that one has to be passionate. त्या विषयाविषयीची तळमळ, जर त्या विषयाविषयीच इंटरेस्ट नसेल, काही रसच नसेल, काही त्याच्याबद्दल जाणून घेण्याची इच्छा, जिज्ञासाच नसेल, तर मग संशोधन होऊ शकत नाही. मला हा विषय आवडतच नाही, निरस आहे, कंटाळवाणा आहे, तर मग संशोधन होऊ शकत नाही. मला वेळ मिळाला की करेन, आठवड्यातनं मी एकदा कधीतरी वेळ मिळाला तर करेन, मला वेळच मिळाला नाही, अशी कारण संशोधन करताना देता येत नाही. So at any level, if you are doing a research, you are presenting a paper, you are writing dissertation, you are writing thesis, anything, you need to be serious about it. And so commitment comes. You need to be dedicated about that particular subject and you have to be sincere. Sincerely, you have to collect references. Sincerely, you have to go through the entire process. Okay. सो व्हॉट इज कन्सिस्ट, म्हणजे रिसर्च मध्ये नेमकं काय असतं, संशोधनामध्ये नेमकं काय असतं, आपल्याला काय काय करायला लागतं. फर्स्ट, डेफिनेटली गॅदरिंग ऑफ डेटा, इन्फॉर्मेशन अँड फॅक्ट्स फॉर ऍडव्हान्समेंट ऑफ नॉलेज. ही पहिली खरं तर आपल्याला एक स्टेप आहे. कारण रिसर्च काय करावं, संशोधन नेमकं काय करावं, म्हणजे बऱ्याच जणांना हा प्रश्न पडतो, मी टॉपिक काय घेऊ, व्हॉट शुड बी द टॉपिक ऑफ माय रिसर्च. फॉर दॅट ऑल्सो यू नीड टू फॉलो दिस प्रोसेस. असाच एखाद्याला जो टॉपिक आहे, रिसर्च टॉपिक, तो असा सुचणार नाहीये. जर तुम्ही त्याचं वाचनच केलं नसेल, त्या विषयाबद्दल माहितीच मिळवली नसेल, तर तुम्हाला टॉपिक आपोआप मिळू शकत नाही किंवा कोणीतरी तुम्हाला तो देऊ शकत नाही. यू हॅव टू गो थ्रू दिस प्रोसेसेस. गॅदरिंग ऑफ डेटा. रामायणावर रिसर्च करायचा आहे, रामायण आधी वाचावं लागेल. अर्थशास्त्रावर संशोधन करायचे, आधी ते वाचावं लागेल. देन फॅक्ट्स फॉर ऍडव्हान्समेंट ऑफ नॉलेज, त्याच्यावर काय काय संशोधन झालेलं आहे याचा विचार करावा लागेल, कारण आपण रिसर्च करत आहोत. ओके. त्यामुळे त्या प्रांतामध्ये, त्या एरियामध्ये काय काय संशोधन झालेलं आहे याची माहिती गोळा करावी लागेल. देन अ नॉव्हेल इनपुट टू द एक्झिस्टिंग स्टोअर ऑफ अंडरस्टँडिंग फॉर मेकिंग इट्स ऍडव्हान्समेंट. आता माहिती मिळवून काम संपत नाहीये. माहिती तर मिळवली, म्हणजे अगदी तुम्ही असा विषय घेतला, स्पाय सिस्टीम इन कौटिल्य अर्थशास्त्र. यू हॅव गॅदर्ड ऑल इन्फॉर्मेशन अँड यू सबमिट इट. इट कांट बी डन. तुम्ही फक्त माहिती मिळवण्याचं काम केलेलं आहे, त्याला फक्त डेटा कलेक्शन असं म्हणता येऊ शकेल किंवा संकलन असं म्हणता येऊ शकेल. यू हॅव टू गिव्ह सम नॉव्हेल इनपुट. त्याच्यावर तुम्ही काय नवीन विचार मांडू शकता, व्हॉट विल बी युअर कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन, व्हॉट विल बी युअर ऍडिशन टू दॅट रेल्म ऑफ नॉलेज, दॅट यू हॅव टू थिंक अपॉन. याच्यावर मला नवीन काय मांडता येईल, काय नवीन विचार मला मांडता येणं शक्य आहे का, याचा विचार करायला लागेल. बिकॉज रिसर्च ऑलवेज कॉन्ट्रीब्युट्स टू नॉलेज. आणि जर तसा नवीन विचार नसेल, देर इज नो न्यू आयडिया, न्यू कॉन्सेप्ट, नो न्यू ऍडिशन, then it may not be called as research. Okay, it always adds something to the existing pool of knowledge. So it is not mere compilation of data or reproduction of already existing content. Otherwise, what will happen? Okay, I want to write about spy system in Arthashastra. I will search everything on the internet, books, etc. I will write it nicely and present it. That cannot be a research. That is mere compilation. Because data collection is a beginning step. Therefore, you have a next lecture on data processing. Okay, how to process that data. तुम्ही माहिती तर मिळवली, पण त्याची प्रक्रिया करायची आहे, ती प्रक्रिया करता आली पाहिजे. प्लीज म्यूट युअर सेल्फ. सो तुम्ही म्हणाल की कसं काय हे करता येऊ शकेल. हाऊ टू कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट, हाऊ वी आर गोइंग टू कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट टू द नॉलेज realm, how we are going to add some value to it, to the existing information, how to choose a topic. खूप महत्वाचा प्रश्न आहे. सुरुवात इथूनच होते, विषय कसा निवडावा. आणि तो विषय निवडण्यासाठी आपल्याला पहिल्यांदा माहित असावा लागतो, तो म्हणजे रिसर्च प्रॉब्लेम, समस्या. द गॅप, वी कॉल इट ॲज रिसर्च गॅप. ती जर आपल्याला आयडेंटिफाय करता आली नाही, रिसर्च प्रॉब्लेम जर आयडेंटिफाय करता आला नाही, समस्या, संशोधनाची समस्या नेमकी काय आहे हेच जर कळलं नाही, तर संशोधन होऊ शकणार नाही. संशोधनाचा विषय देखील निश्चित होऊ शकणार नाही. ओके, how to find out the research problem. Again, you have to read about that subject. Otherwise, it's not possible. म्हणजे तुम्ही कालिदासाचं साहित्यच वाचलेलं नाहीये आणि तुम्ही म्हणताय की मला कालिदासावर संशोधन करायचंय, तर ते शक्य नाहीये. अर्थशास्त्रावर संशोधन करायचंय, पण अर्थशास्त्र वाचलेलंच नाहीये. You want to research on Yoga Sutra, but you haven't read Yoga Sutra. Not possible. Because when you read that, not only cursory reading is enough, you have to read it minutely. स्थूल वाचन आणि सूक्ष्म वाचन असे दोन प्रकार असतात पहा. तर तसं स्थूल वाचन तिकडे अपेक्षित चालू शकतं, पण तुम्हाला सूक्ष्म वाचन करायला लागेल. देन ओनली यू कॅन आयडेंटिफाय रिसर्च प्रॉब्लेम. फर्स्ट रॅपिड रीडिंग इज इनफ, देन यू हॅव टू गो अगेन अँड अगेन, गो बॅक अगेन अँड अगेन, रीड टू रिअलाइज दॅट रिसर्च गॅप. ओके, मग तो रिसर्च प्रॉब्लेम जो आहे तो जर आपल्याला ओळखता आला ना, तरच आपण आपल्या विषयापर्यंत येऊ शकतो. इट मे बी अ क्वेश्चन इन द फॉर्म ऑफ क्वेश्चन. ओके, मग तो कसा फॉर्म करायचा किंवा कसा ओळखायचा, हा इथे एक महत्वाचा प्रश्न आपल्याला निर्माण होताना दिसतो. हाऊ टू आयडेंटिफाय द रिसर्च प्रॉब्लेम. सो सपोज यू आर रीडिंग Yoga Sutra, for example. Okay, so research problem simply may be, what is the concept of yoga according to Patanjali. पतंजलीने योगा हा शब्द कोणत्या अर्थाने वापरलेला आहे. ही रिसर्च समस्या असू शकते, संशोधनाची समस्या असू शकते, किंवा रिसर्च प्रॉब्लेम असू शकतो. किंवा जर तुम्ही कालिदासाची काव्य वाचत असाल, कालिदासाने उपमा अलंकार जास्त वापरलाय का अर्थांतरन्यास अलंकार वापरलेला आहे, असा तुम्हाला मूलतः प्रश्न पडेल. पण जेव्हा तुम्ही अधिक वाचन कराल तेव्हा कदाचित तुम्हाला जाणवेल की उपमा कालिदासस्य असं उक्ती पण आहे, पण कालिदास अर्थांतरन्यास पण वापरतो. मग तुमचं जे निरीक्षण आहे ते अजून पुढे गेल्यावर तुम्ही असा विचार कराल की उपमाच का जास्त वापरले किंवा अर्थांतरन्यासच का वापरलेला आहे. And then your further activities are to find out the solution of that research problem. पुढच्या ज्या सगळ्या क्रिया आहे त्या तुम्हाला त्या संशोधनाची समस्या आहे किंवा तो जो प्रश्न आहे त्याची उत्तरं शोधण्यासाठी म्हणून ती प्रवृत्ती असते, हे लक्षात घ्या. सो रिसर्च प्रॉब्लेम इज अ क्वेश्चन दॅट रिसर्चर वॉन्ट्स टू आन्सर, ऑर अ प्रॉब्लेम दॅट रिसर्चर वॉन्ट्स टू सॉल्व. अनेक उदाहरणं याची घेता येऊ शकतील आणि तुम्ही सुद्धा विचार करू शकता की खरंच ही संशोधन समस्या होऊ शकते का. तुम्हाला जर एखादा विषय सुचलेला असेल रिसर्च साठी, तर तुम्ही असा विचार करू शकता की त्याच्यात रिसर्च प्रॉब्लेम काय आहे. व्हॉट इज अ रिसर्च गॅप, और रिसर्च गॅप ऑल्सो समटाइम्स इट इज कॉल्ड एज. मीन्स गॅप मीन्स सपोज नाउ देर इज ample writings or ample research is done on कालिदास. मग कालिदासाच्या उपमांबद्दल लिहिलं गेलंय, अर्थांतरन्यासाबद्दल लिहिलं गेलेलं आहे, पण असा विचार कोणी केलाय का की अर्थांतरन्यास जे आहेत कालिदासाचे त्याचं नक्की स्वरूप काय किंवा ते कालिदासाने का बरं वापरलेले आहेत. आणि जर तसा विचार झाला नसेल तर मग दॅट इज अ रिसर्च गॅप. सर्टन एरियाज आर नॉट टच्ड बाय द रिसर्चर, दॅट ऑल्सो फॉर्म्स अ रिसर्च गॅप. और सर्टन एरियाज आर थॉट but not in that way. For example, one of my student PhD student has chosen a topic that understanding Sridhara's philosophy from the commentary of Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So what she will be studying? Bhagavad Gita, the text Bhagavad Gita. Commentary which Sridhara has written on Bhagavad Gita. Now, what was the research problem for her? Why she took this particular topic? Because Sridhara's philosophy, Sridhara's standpoint of philosophy is not very clear. That is a research gap. म्हणजे आतापर्यंत ज्यांनी ज्यांनी संशोधन केलेलं आहे त्यांना श्रीधराचा नेमका तत्वज्ञानामधला जो काही स्टँड पॉइंट आहे, तत्वज्ञानीय जी भूमिका आहे, दार्शनिक भूमिका, ती ओळखता आलेली नाहीये व्यवस्थितपणे. Some people say that Sridhara was follower of Shankara Vedanta, but also he has included bhakti in his writings. So it seems that he was also, influenced by bhakti cults. मग चैतन्य वैष्णविझमचे जे लोक आहेत, म्हणजे गौडीय वैष्णव संप्रदायाचे जे संशोधक आहेत, ते बऱ्याचदा त्याला भक्ती संप्रदायामधला तो असावा असंही समजतात, तो शांकर वेदांती नसावा असं मानतात. मग नक्की काय आहे? श्रीधराची भूमिका काय आहे नेमकी? कोणत्या भूमिकेतनं त्याने भाष्य भगवद्गीतेवर लिहिलेलं आहे हे शोधणं. दॅट इज हर रिसर्च प्रॉब्लेम. Okay, so you need to first identify the question. Okay, you need to understand that question from the several points of view, and then define a rationale for your project, for your thesis, for your dissertation, or whatever paper you are writing. Rationale means what? Why you want to do this? Why you want to do on Sridhara and why not on Shankaracharya? The answer is simple, because Shankaracharya's commentary on Bhagavad Gita is studied by many researchers. अनेक संशोधकांनी अभ्यासलेला आहे तो भाग. पण श्रीधर स्वामींची जी व्याख्या आहे भगवद्गीतेवर ती फारशी अभ्यासली गेलेली नाहीये. And it will throw light on Sridhar Swami's standpoint. So that becomes your rationale. Okay. So the identification of research problem is very, very necessary, without which you can't proceed, towards the research. त्यामुळे जर समस्याच नसेल तर त्याचं समाधान नाही होऊ शकत. समस्याच नसेल तर तुम्ही त्याचं निराकरण किंवा त्याचं सोल्युशन कसं काढणार? सो देअर हॅज टू बी फर्स्ट रिसर्च प्रॉब्लेम. सो वन हॅज टू आयडेंटिफाय द रिसर्च प्रॉब्लेम in order to formulate the research topic. Okay. So what are the characteristics of research? Researcher is directed toward the solution of problem. त्यामुळे विषय ठरल्यापासून शेवटपर्यंत एकच उद्दिष्ट असतं, ते म्हणजे त्या रिसर्च प्रॉब्लेमचं समाधान शोधून काढणे. ही जी संशोधनाची समस्या आहे ती सोडवणे. आणि ते कसं करायला लागतं? ते कसं करणार? How you will prove that? How you will give solution? That should be definitely through some evidence. Without evidence, nothing works. We know how scientific researches are there. Same method we are applying here. There has to be empirical evidence. So, if you want to prove anything about any text, you can't just give, the reason as your instinct, inner instinct, or your liking, or your favor, or someone else's liking, or someone else's favor. Nothing. It should be observable experiences. Now, in our case, it should be textual evidence. ग्रांथिक संदर्भ आपल्याला देता आले पाहिजेत. आपण ज्या विधानाची पुष्टी करणार आहोत, आपल्याला जे विधान मांडायचं आहे त्याची पुष्टी करताना आपल्याला ग्रांथिक संदर्भ जे आहे ते देता आले पाहिजेत. त्याच्याशिवाय आपल्याला ते विधान सिद्ध करता येणार नाही. म्हणजे उदाहरणार्थ जर मला असं मांडायचं असेल, सपोज आय वॉन्ट टू प्रूव्ह दॅट भागवत पुराण इज बेस्ड ऑन योग फिलॉसॉफी. Okay, so how I will prove that? Because someone has said, because I am very, in favor of yoga philosophy, or I like yoga philosophy. No, it should be based on empirical evidence. You have to gather certain references. You have to show that how, other philosophical systems are also there, but yoga philosophical references are in profuse manner. You have to show that. So that should be observable experience or empirical evidence. For example, I will give now the counter example. When we talk with the students generally while choosing their research topic, someone has chosen the topic like, the stotras, the effect of stotras on human being. So we asked a question, how you will, monitor the effect. See, you can study stotras. What is the language? How, they are written? What are the syllables used, words used? The concept of bhakti, philosophy, the religious concepts which are reflected, or mythology which is reflected in stotras, iconography of the deity which is reflected in the stotras. Many things, stotras can be studied from multifarious angle. But the topic which, that student mentioned, that experience cannot be observable. How you will observe? Can you provide any empirical evidence that, if people recite stotras for suppose 1 month, then what is the effect? Any psychological effect? Then you have to conduct certain experiments for that. Then that is possible. Mere textual study will not, add to that. Then student think that I will gather some information from the internet and will write it as, how stotras are beneficial for the human being. So that will not be your research. You are doing just data collection. Then you have to consider, conduct the experiment. Otherwise, you have to make 2 groups, there is sample size, how many participants will be there. You have to decide the days, and then you have to monitor the effect. Then only it is possible. So observable experience, which can be measured, then only it will be called as research. So we have to gather the data from primary sources or existing data for new purpose. So we have to gather the data from primary sources. So in our case, primary sources are प्राथमिक स्रोत आपण ज्याला म्हणू ते आपले ग्रंथ आहेत, मूल ग्रंथ. त्याच्यामधनं आपल्याला संदर्भ गोळा करायचे. त्याच्याशिवाय त्या विशिष्ट विषयामध्ये ज्यांनी संशोधन केलेलं आहे ते सुद्धा ग्रंथ आपल्याला बघायला लागतील. सो सपोज इफ युअर प्रायमरी सोर्स इज कौटिल्यज अर्थशास्त्र, you need also to study P.V. Kane's History of the Dharmashastra or Patrick Olivell's book. Those who have done, considerable research in that particular area. Okay. Then expertise in particular area for critical reading. ठीक आहे, तुम्ही म्हणाल मला संशोधन करायचंय, but you don't have ability to read the text critically. म्हणजे संस्कृतच वाचता येत नाहीये, तर मग that will be the basic lacuna. So first we have to understand the language. Then content also you need to understand. If you are reading the translation, then also you need to understand the content. Okay. And then you should be able to analyze that. Critical reading. See, critical reading means what? It is not just reading to appreciate. It is a neutral reading. In the sense that we should be able to find pros and cons. That is critical reading. Okay, analytical reading it is called as. That we have to do while reading the text. So researcher knows what is already known about the problem, how others have investigated. हे फार महत्वाचं आहे. Sometimes, students present papers. Okay, suppose it is on forts in ancient India. Okay, how they are, or we can say Durga Sthapatya as reflected in ancient text or in Arthashastra. Durga in Arthashastra, Kautilya Arthashastra. But then what happens if we ask a question to student? Who all have done researches in this particular area earlier? Have you taken note of that? And student says, no, I have not got that book. I haven't seen that. I have just read Kautilya Arthashastra. But that is not enough. Then your research is partial. Because in order to do research, first you should be aware what research has already taken place in this particular area, and you have to take a note of that. You have to further investigate. Okay. Then researcher has to be objective and logical. मगाशी जसं मी म्हटलं तटस्थपणा पाहिजे. One has to be objective and logical. तर्क, युक्ती यानी युक्त पाहिजे. We have to apply our logic while reading the text. Please mute yourself. Research should be unbiased. It should be unbiased. It can't be biased. If you are biased in the beginning itself, then your research will not be true. It will not be impartial. Okay. Because if you have totally ascertained the conclusion in the beginning, due to your presumptions or prejudices, then it is problematic. For example, if you are investigating on, suppose, Varna Vyavastha, okay, in particular text as reflected in, suppose, Mahabharata, and you are already biased that Varna Vyavastha is rigid, then you can't do the research in objective manner. निष्पक्ष पद्धतीने काम नाही करता येणार. And your results will not be true based on your findings because you are biased. So we have to be unbiased, have an unbiased approach. Based on the data, based on our processing, whatever we get, we should be able to accept. Whether Varna Vyavastha in Mahabharata is flexible or it is rigid. Whatever the result is, we should be able to accept. Or sometimes result may be not completely flexible or completely rigid. It may be more rigid but little flexible, or more flexible, like that. We have to be patient, and it is unhurried activity. As I said, it has to be sincere, dedicated, and serious activity. One has to be patient in getting the result. It is not that you start doing research and one day your result will be out. Your research has to, you have to dedicate the time for it. Considerable amount of time and efforts are needed. Suppose submission deadline is, suppose in the end of December, and you start doing your research before 5 days. You will not get the desired result naturally. You have to start it before. Then only your result will be ready before 5 days of the December end. Okay. So what are the key factors of research? Novelty of topic. Topic has to be new because you have to contribute something new. Therefore, novelty of topic is necessary. You can't do research on which is already done. त्याला पिष्टपेषण असं म्हणतात ना. पिष्टपेषण. Doing something which is already done many a times. म्हणजे काही काही विषय असे असतात की चावून चोथा झालेले आहेत. So we can't advise you to, do on that topic. Please mute yourself. Then we have to apply research methodology. Once our topic is ready, we have to apply research methodology. संशोधन पद्धतीचा अवलंब करूनच संशोधन करायचंय. If you have not accepted and implemented research methodology, your research will not get accepted. तुमचं संशोधन हे मान्य होणार नाही. भलेही तुम्हाला असं वाटत असेल मी काहीतरी संशोधन केलेलं आहे, पण ते जर मान्य व्हायला हवं असेल तर संशोधन पद्धतीचा अवलंब करायला पाहिजे. Otherwise, it will not be accepted in the scholarly realm, scholarly world. बऱ्याचदा पहा एखादं खूप छान पुस्तक असतं पण ते स्वीकारलं जात नाही. याचं कारण काय? ते संशोधन पद्धतीला अनुसरून लिहिलेलं नसतं. त्याच्यामध्ये संदर्भ दिलेले नसतात किंवा संशोधन पद्धतीमध्ये ज्या वेगवेगळ्या मेथड्स सांगितलेल्या आहेत त्यांचं उपयोजन केलेलं नसतं. त्यामुळे जरी ते किती चांगलं तुम्हाला आवडलेलं असेल तरी ते संशोधनपर आहे असं म्हणता येणार नाही. So after deciding your research methods, etc., you need to have complete research design, how you will proceed. Okay. What will be the different stages that you should be aware? What will be your chapters? Introduction and conclusion are common chapters. You will give bibliography. But in between, what will be the chapters? It is not that you will write at one point and end at one point. म्हणजे अगदी एक सुरुवात केली आणि अशीच भराभर 15-20 पानं लिहिली, 100 पानं लिहिली, असं नाही होत ना. You have to categorize your writing into different sections, different प्रकरणं, chapters. There has to be logical connection in those chapters. एकानंतर जो दुसरा चॅप्टर येणार, तिसरा येणार, चौथा येणार, त्याच्यामध्ये काहीतरी तर्कसंगत असा क्रम असला पाहिजे, त्याचा विचार करावा लागतो. सो टेंटेटिव्ह स्कीम ऑफ चॅप्टरायझेशन शुड बी रेडी. सो once the topic is decided, you need to decide what will be your methodology. Then your tentative scheme of chapterization should be ready. Guide asks you to give the tentative scheme of chapterization. Then when you are writing, you have to be free from the plagiarism. Plagiarism is very serious kind of thing which one should not commit. वाङ्मय चौर्य ज्याला म्हटलं जातं. You just collect the data from various sources and while writing you write as it is. That will be plagiarism. See, you can quote those scholars and give citations. So there will be lecture on citation also. But otherwise, you are not supposed to copy paste. Then it will be plagiarized material. Then your writing should be unbiased. While writing about certain scholars, suppose you are writing on Dharma Shastra and you have got so and so scholar, suppose Patrick Olivelle. Then you are not supposed to praise Patrick Olivelle. You have to quote him in very objective manner. You are not supposed to add certain, glorifying epithets and qualities to that person. So praise and hatred should be avoided from the research writing. Okay. And ultimately, innovation and contribution is needed. Ultimately, what matters, in any research writing is your contribution. What's new in this? What's your contribution? Then only it will be called as research material. So whenever we are selecting a topic or shaping a title, we should keep this in mind. It should be, first of all, research problem should be reflected. It should be precise and clear. Scope and limitation should be there, clear, and timeline of research. Means what? See, if you are writing a paper, then your topic will be different. If you are writing a dissertation, topic will be different. If you are writing a thesis, topic will be different. How much time you have got? Just a week, 15 days, month, 3 months, 4 months, or 4 years. That also matters. तुम्ही एकदा भला मोठा टॉपिक घेतला आणि तो तुम्हाला 8 दिवसात करायचा आहे, 1 महिन्यात करायचा आहे, 3 महिन्यात करायचा आहे, शक्यच नाहीये. Okay. So suppose you are taking, for study Kalidasa's literature and you have to do it in 6 months, it's not possible. Because your study will be superficial. So better you take, only one text. Suppose Meghaduta of Kalidasa, a study. But again, here it is not clear which type of study it will be. So be precise. Whether it is poetic analysis, a literary study, critical study. Are you understanding? Or rasa structure of Meghaduta, or critical study of Mallinatha's commentary on the Meghaduta, or society reflected in Meghaduta, like that. So your title should be very, very clear and precise. Your point of view, your research problem should be reflected in that title. त्यामुळे बऱ्याचदा विद्यार्थ्यांना विचारलं, काय विषय आहे? तर फक्त एवढंच सांगतात, मेघदूत, अर्थशास्त्र, सांख्य तत्वज्ञान, वेदांत तत्वज्ञान. It can't be the topic of research. It is the area which you have chosen. But that area cannot be your research topic. You have to identify, still narrow down. म्हणून स्कोप अँड लिमिटेशन्स दिलेलं आहे. यू हॅव टू नॅरो इट डाऊन. वेदांतामध्ये नेमकं काय, कालिदासाच्या काव्यांमध्ये नेमकं काय, अर्थशास्त्रामध्ये नेमकं काय, व्हॉट एक्झॅक्टली. And even if you choose that particular topic, how you are going to address that? Are you going to do social study? Are you going to do the poetic analysis? What exactly? So concept of yoga in Upanishads, again, it is precise. But if you just take yoga in ancient text, it will be very general. It can't form the topic of research. Then you have to be specific. Yoga in Rigveda, yoga in Atharva Veda, or yoga in Upanishads, or yoga in Yogopanishads. That can be precise topic. Or dhyana, the concept of meditation in Upanishads, correct? Or the concept of dharana in Upanishads. These are precise. So you have to shape the title properly. So shaping the title is a task. Okay. That title should predict the content of the paper, dissertation or thesis. नाहीतर नेमकं काय सांगायचं हे समोरच्यालाच कळत नाहीये. Okay. So that will not form the title. One should be able to predict the content of the paper, dissertation or thesis. Reflect the tone of the writing. कोणत्या दृष्टीने तुम्ही लिहिणार आहात. Whether you are going to write from the philosophical perspective, literary perspective or social perspective. If it is clear, then it is very good. Content, important keywords. तुम्हाला ज्या कॉन्सेप्ट विषयी, ज्या विषयी बोलायचं आहे ते आले जर टायटल मध्ये, शीर्षकामध्ये, तर उत्तम आहे. नाहीतर मग फायदा काय, मग तुम्ही शीर्षकामध्ये एक सांगताय आणि बॉडी टेक्स्ट मध्ये वेगळंच लिहिताय, असं होईल ना. सो दॅट विल बी व्हेरी हार्मफुल. सो बी ब्रीफ, प्रिसाइज अँड ऑब्जेक्टिव्ह. अगेन हिअर बी कन्साइज. टायटल म्हणजे लांबलचक नाही असू शकत. 3-4 ओळींचं टायटलच आहे असं थोडी होईल. इट शुड बी व्हेरी प्रिसाइज, कन्साइज, बट स्टील इन्फॉर्मेटिव्ह. जसं आपण सूत्राच्या बाबतीत नाही का म्हणत, अल्पाक्षरम संदिग्धम सारवत विश्वतो मुखम अस्तोभमनवद्यम च सूत्रम सूत्रविदो विदो. अक्षरशः ती लक्षणं या शीर्षकाला लागू पडतात. सगळी लक्षणं आपण इथे लावू शकतो. तसं शीर्षक असावं. इट शुड बी डायरेक्ट, डिस्क्रिप्टिव्ह, ॲक्युरेट, ॲप्रोप्रिएट अँड ऑफकोर्स युनिक. It can't be repetitive. One has done the research on the same title. You can't take that same title. You're adding something new to that, right? So add that in your title as well. So for all this, we need is research methodology. Methodology means what? It is a system. एक पद्धत आहे ती to systematically solve the research problem. It consists of different research methods and tools. त्याच्यामध्ये ह्या संशोधन पद्धतीमध्ये कशाचा समावेश होतो, तर विविध संशोधनाच्या पद्धती आणि तंत्र, कौशल्य यांचा समावेश होतो. व्हेरियस स्किल्स, टेक्निक्स वी कॅन से, और टूल्स, दे आर इन्क्लुडेड. व्हेरियस रिसर्च अप्रोचेस, पर्स्पेक्टिव्ह. त्यामुळे रिसर्च मेथडॉलॉजी ह्या सगळ्यांचा एक हे संकलनात्मक अशी एक म्हणजे संकल्पना आहे असं म्हणायला लागेल आपल्याला. इट इज अ ब्रॉड ऍक्च्युली कॉन्सेप्ट, व्यापक संकल्पना आहे. त्याच्यामध्ये अनेक गोष्टींचा समावेश होतो. अनेक प्रकारची संशोधनाची तंत्र, साधनं जी आपल्याला वापरावी लागतात, त्या सगळ्याचा, संशोधनाची दृष्टी, त्याचा सुद्धा समावेश होतो. कारण कोणत्या दृष्टीने तुम्ही संशोधन करणार आहात हे महत्वाचं आहे. योगसूत्र वाचायचे पण कोणत्या दृष्टीने, फ्रॉम फिलॉसॉफिकल पर्स्पेक्टिव्ह, लिटररी पर्स्पेक्टिव्ह, सायकोलॉजिकल पर्स्पेक्टिव्ह, or something else, therapeutic perspective. So perspectives will be different, that you need to define, be clear with while forming the research problem. Okay. And it also includes specific method of citation and references. संदर्भ द्यायचे आहेत आपल्याला, कारण you will quote earlier scholars. How to quote that? You have to quote in particular manner. Sometimes I am writing कंगले, comma अर्थशास्त्र. Sometimes I am writing just कंगले. Sometimes I am writing अर्थशास्त्र, comma कंगले. असं नाही ना चालणार. There has to be uniformity, and therefore there are different methods which also you will be learning in later lectures. So research methodology is a scientific method of research which includes data collection and data analysis with particular research perspective. एखाद्या दृष्टिकोनातून विश्लेषण करायचे. डेटा कलेक्ट करताना, तथ्य संकलन करताना आपल्याला सगळ्याच प्रकारच्या तथ्याचं संकलन करायचं असतं. पण जेव्हा आपण त्याचं विश्लेषण करतो तेव्हा एखाद्या विशिष्ट दृष्टीमधनं त्याचं विश्लेषण आपण करणार असतो. म्हणजे कालिदासाची काव्य तर वाचली मी, माहिती तर गोळा केली, पण त्याचं आता विश्लेषण मी म्हणजे काव्यात्मक दृष्टिकोनातून करायचंय का व्याकरणात्मक दृष्टिकोनातून करायचंय हे निश्चित झालं पाहिजे. कारण दोन्हीमध्ये पद्धती निरनिराळ्या असणार आहेत. मला जर काव्यात्मक दृष्टिकोनातून करायचं असेल तर आय नीड टू हॅव the understanding of different poetic devices, and if I am analyzing it from the grammar perspective, I need to have different devices from the grammar. I need to have the knowledge of Panini's Ashtadhyayi and further text, then only I can do. If I am analyzing Kalidasa's poetries from philosophical perspective, then I need to have the basic knowledge and expertise also actually in the philosophical text. तरच मला सांगता येईल की कालिदासाच्या काव्यांमध्ये अमुक अमुक तत्वज्ञानाचे संदर्भ हे प्रचुर प्रमाणात आहेत. मध्ये योग तत्वज्ञानाचे आहेत, सांख्य तत्वज्ञानाचे आहेत किंवा वेदांत तत्वज्ञानाचे आहेत. Then I have to explore. So research perspective is very very necessary. And then citation methods. त्यामुळे रिसर्च मेथडॉलॉजी मध्ये या सर्वांचा समावेश आपल्याला होताना दिसून येतो. So what is the scientific method of research? First, their observation. जसं मी मगाशी म्हटलं, observation means here in science, yes, first there is observation. You see something in the nature and you there is curiosity why this is happening. Okay, जसं प्रश्न याला पडला होता न्यूटनला की ते फळ जे आहे ते खालीच का पडतं आणि मग त्याच्यातनं त्या गुरुत्वाकर्षणाच्या सिद्धांताचा जन्म झाला वगैरे वगैरे. So here what we are doing, we are observing means we are reading the texts. We are reading, व्हेरियस प्रायमरी टेक्स्ट, ग्रंथ वाचन आपण करत असतो, त्याच्यातनं उत्सुकता निर्माण होते. हे असं आहे का? कालिदासाने उपमा अलंकाराचा जास्त वापर केलाय का केलेला आहे? असे प्रश्न निर्माण होतात. while reading वाल्मिकी रामायण, how Rama's character is portrayed, whether he is human, whether he is avatar, whether he is Vishnu himself. Exactly what curiosity generates and it formulates into research problem. Whether Rama is avatar or human, that may be a research problem. And then you formulate the hypothesis. Hypothesis म्हणजे काय? Hypothesis ही एक प्रकारे तुम्ही जो निष्कर्ष मांडणार आहात, निष्कर्ष जो तुम्हाला वाटतोय, possible conclusion. It is a possible conclusion. Conclusion is predicted, but you need to have that in the beginning. तुम्हाला सिद्ध काय करायचंय नक्की? Okay, what you want to prove. So maybe your hypothesis is in Valmiki Ramayana, Rama is portrayed as human being. That may be your hypothesis. But this hypothesis which you have formulated is also based on your study. It can't be taken randomly with your liking or prejudices, etc. आपली जी मतं असतात अगोदरची त्याच्यावर आधारित तुम्ही हायपोथेसिस तयार करू शकत नाही. इट इज ऑल्सो बेस्ड ऑन सम स्टडी. की तुम्ही वाल्मिकी रामायणाचं वाचन केलेलं आहे, त्याच्यावर काही अभ्यास जो झालेला आहे त्याचं सुद्धा अवलोकन केलेलं आहे आणि मग तुम्हाला असं वाटलं की नाही, वाल्मिकी रामायणामध्ये रामाचं जे चरित्र आहे ते मानवीच आहे, तो आदर्श पुरुषोत्तम म्हणून त्याचं वर्णन केलेलं आहे. So that may be, your hypothesis. So it is a statement basically. Okay. And then you design so to prove the hypothesis, your activity proceeds. पुढची जी सगळी ऍक्टिव्हिटी आहे की नाही ती कशासाठी आहे? तर तो हायपोथेसिस सिद्ध करण्यासाठी. Then you do design of research, means do the bifurcation of chapters, data collection, processing. Then your hypothesis is accepted or abandoned. But of course, if it is abandoned, then your research will get unproved. So you have to prove how your hypothesis is correct. त्यामुळे हायपोथेसिस हा बरोबर नाहीये, योग्य नाहीये किंवा अयोग्य नाहीये हे कधी कळायला पाहिजे? सुरुवातीला कळायला पाहिजे, इन द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द रिसर्च. अँड देन द डिडक्शन मीन्स कन्क्लुजन. आणि जर त्याचं काही उपयोजन असेल, इफ युअर रिसर्च इज अप्लाइड, then you have to show how it can be applied. For example, if your research is like how Arthashastra principles can be used in corporate, then you have to definitely show the application. Your research is not, getting limited to mere, understanding of Arthashastra principles, but you need to show application in corporate. Okay. I think this we have done. Yeah. So I talked about rationale. What is rationale? So the rationale for one's research is a justification for undertaking a given study. की तुम्ही का बरं ह्याचा अभ्यास करताय? जसं मी मगाशी एक उदाहरण दिलं होतं की भगवद्गीतेवरील सुबोधिनी जी टीका आहे श्रीधर स्वामींनी लिहिलेली त्याचं अध्ययन करणं हा जर रिसर्चचा टॉपिक असेल, इफ इट इज अ टायटल, then you need to justify why you have taken this. Rational it is called as. So it states the various reason why a researcher chooses to focus on the topic in question. What is the significance? What are the gaps? So it is an explanation that rationalizes the need for the study. म्हणजे का गरज आहे ह्याच्यावर काम करण्याची? गरजच नसेल तर संशोधनाचा विषयच होऊ शकत नाही. म्हणजे कालिदासाच्या काव्यामधील निसर्ग वर्णन खूप काम झालेलं आहे. देन यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू जस्टिफाय. ओके, यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू जस्टिफाय देन सच टॉपिक्स. मगाशी जे म्हटलं पिष्टपेषण ज्याच्यावर झालेलं आहे तिथे तुम्हाला रॅशनल लिहिताच येणार नाही, बिकॉज देर इज नो रिसर्च गॅप अँड यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू जस्टिफाय द नीड ऑफ द स्टडी. ओके, सो द रॅशनल इज टिपिकली फॉलोड बाय अ हायपोथिसिस ऑर रिसर्च क्वेश्चन्स and the study objectives. त्यामुळे मुळात का गरज आहे, what is the need, then you need to justify this is the gap, therefore I need to study this particular area. Okay. Scope and limitations. व्याप्ती आणि मर्यादा मी जो मगाशी मुद्दा सांगितला. Scope refers to how far the research area has explored and parameters in which the study will be operating in. See, scope may be vast, but you have to limit it. Okay. So, because the time is limited, study should be time bound. असं नाही होऊ शकत की मी एक काम घेतलेलं आहे, मी एक संशोधनाचा विषय घेतलेला आहे and I will work it whenever the time allows. Then it will be unending. You have to keep the time limit. मुळात जेव्हा तुम्ही MA अभ्यासक्रमामध्ये असे संशोधनाचे विषय घेत असता किंवा PhD साठी विषय घेत असता, they are already time bound. So it is not that they go on and on. It has to be time bound. And because of this, and considering the vast scope of those subjects, we have to limit the topics. म्हणजे मी एक उदाहरण दिलेलं आहे. Suppose someone has to study a Varna system in ancient Puranas. Then the question will come, which ancient Puranas? Puranas are 108 in number. Again, there is bifurcation. There are Mahapuranas, there are Upapuranas. Which Purana you are going to study? Again, they are voluminous. Some Puranas are. Is it possible to read all of them in definite period? No. Then what one has to do? Limit depending on the nature of research. So it can be a study of Varna system in Vaishnava Puranas. Automatically the topic is limited. See, वैष्णव पुराण म्हणजे फक्त वैष्णव पुराण जे आहेत महापुराणांमधली त्याचंच अध्ययन करणार. और नाउ दिस कॅन बी मे बी PhD टॉपिक, बिकॉज वैष्णव पुराण जर अगेन फास्ट. पण एखाद्याला जर फक्त छोटासाच भाग त्याच्यातला जो आहे तो अभ्यासायचा आहे ऍज अ पार्ट ऑफ डिझर्टेशन, then one can take study of Varna system in Vishnu Purana or Bhagavata Purana. But if you are doing just a paper, then you can take, certain selection also. Vishnu Puranas, particular adhyayas or section. किंवा महाभारतावर समजा आधारित असेल तर महाभारतातलं शांती पर्वच किंवा आदी पर्व. That can be, limitation which you are imposing on your study, and that is very, very necessary. Otherwise, the conclusion which you are writing will be vague. So here you are ascertaining that whatever conclusions you have deduced, they are applicable only to that particular section. म्हणजे तुम्ही ज्या वर्ण व्यवस्थेवर समजा भाष्य केलं असेल तर ते वैष्णव पुराणांनाच लागू होईल, बाकीच्या पुराणांना लागू नाही होणार, किंवा विष्णू पुराणालाच लागू होईल, बाकीच्या पुराणांना लागू होणार नाही. दॅट यू आर क्लिअरिंग इट आउट इन स्कोप अँड लिमिटेशन. सो व्हेरी व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट part, scope and limitations. Mainly while forming the title only, we have to think about scope and limitations. Otherwise, your title will not be precise. It will not be clear. It will be vague. Okay? Yeah. Now we will talk more about hypothesis. We have seen that hypothesis is very, very necessary. मी मगाशीच म्हटलं की सुरुवातीलाच आपल्याला एकदा आपलं शीर्षक ठरलं की नंतर आपल्याला हायपोथेसिस जो आहे तो तयार करावा लागतो, आणि मग पुढचं जे सगळं कार्य आहे, युअर एव्हरी रिसर्च ऍक्टिव्हिटी इज टू प्रूव्ह दॅट हायपोथेसिस. सो व्हॉट इज हायपोथेसिस? हायपोथेसिस is a tentative proposition formulated to determine its validity. The hypothesis may prove to be correct or incorrect. म्हणजे we can say it is a tentative conclusion, but it can be wrong or right. So it is defined as an unproved theory, proposition, supposition, etc., which is tentatively accepted to explain certain facts or to provide a basis for further investigation, argument, etc. त्यामुळे एक प्रकारे हे काय आहे तर त्याला कल्पित निगमन असं मराठीमध्ये म्हणू शकतो. ओके, कारण निगमन म्हणजे निष्कर्ष, आणि कल्पित, कल्पित नॉट इमॅजिनेटरी, इट इज नॉट इमॅजिनेटरी. ओके, इट इज बेस्ड ऑन सम स्टडी. म्हणजे आधी तुम्ही जेव्हा विषय निश्चित करता त्याच्यासाठी सुद्धा काही प्रमाणात अभ्यास हा करावाच लागतो. असं नाहीये की विषय ठरल्यावर मग मी अभ्यास करायला घेईन. इट इज नॉट लाईक दॅट. इवन फॉर शेपिंग द टायटल यू हॅव टू स्टडी. Without that, topic will not be fixed. And after you know that study, you can formulate hypothesis. Formulation of hypothesis is not possible without a study. Okay. So hypothesis can be of, what we can say, it can be positive statement, negative statement. It is basically a statement. It can be one statement, two statements, or sometimes multiple statements also. So hypothesis is an assumption about relations between variables. It is tentative explanations of the research problem. But that hypothesis should be again testable, specific, precise, clear, and relevant. It should be very, very precise. म्हणजे तुम्ही जो विषय घेतलेला आहे त्याला अनुलक्षून पाहिजे तो हायपोथेसिस. नाही तर विषय काहीतरी वेगळाच आणि हायपोथेसिस काहीतरी वेगळाच, असं नाही होऊ शकत. आता मगाशी मी जो एक विषय सांगितला की वर्णव्यवस्था पुराणांमधील, भागवत पुराणातील वर्णव्यवस्था असा जर विषय असेल तर तो त्यालाच अनुसरून हायपोथेसिस पाहिजे की भागवत पुराणातील वर्णव्यवस्था नेमकी कशी आहे असं वाटतंय तुम्हाला तुमच्या अभ्यासातून, ते त्या विधानामधनं स्पष्ट व्हायला पाहिजे. आणि इट शुड बी टेस्टेबल थ्रू युअर स्टडी. त्यामुळे मगाशी मी जे उदाहरण दिलंय की स्तोत्रांचा पडणारा प्रभाव, तर त्याच्यामध्ये हायपोथेसिस काय घेणार? समजा जर हायपोथेसिस केला की स्तोत्रांचा खूप छान प्रभाव पडतो, पण कशावर? शारीरिक आरोग्यावर, मानसिक आरोग्यावर असा पडतो का? देन इट शुड बी टेस्टेड. हाऊ यू विल टेस्ट? दॅट विल फॉर्म युअर रिसर्च मेथड. किंवा योगशास्त्रामध्ये अशा प्रकारचे जे संशोधन आहे ती बरीच होताना आपल्याला दिसतात. थेरपेटिक रिसर्च. Suppose pranayama has the good effect on mind and body, then it should be testable. Okay, and it should be specific. What exactly effect? नक्की कोणत्या सिस्टीमवर त्याचा इफेक्ट होतो, शरीराच्या कोणत्या भागावर त्याचा चांगला परिणाम होतो, मानसिक स्थिती सुधारते म्हणजे नेमकी कोणती स्थिती सुधारते, किंवा अमुक एक आसन असेल तर त्याचा नेमका प्रभाव काय पडतोय. तर हे हायपोथेसिस म्हणून आपण घेऊ शकतो. Be testable. It should be specific, precise, very, very clear and relevant. It cannot be irrelevant. Topic is something else and hypothesis is something else. No, it is not possible. म्हणजे विषय असा काहीतरी घेतलेला आहे, सपोज सायकोलॉजिकल रिफ्लेक्शन्स इन योगसूत्र, सपोज. Just we are taking it as an example. Psychological reflections in Yoga Sutra. This is your title. And you are writing hypothesis as, something else, that Yoga Sutra is a philosophical text. Yoga Sutra has very, scientific explanation. These are vague and irrelevant. You have to write it very specific, which is related to your title. जे तुम्ही शीर्षक काय घेतलंय, सायकोलॉजिकल रिफ्लेक्शन्स, मग त्याच्याबद्दलच तुमचा हायपोथिसिस पाहिजे की इट हॅज, योगसूत्र हॅज रिफ्लेक्शन्स ऑफ मेंटल फॅकल्टीज रिलेटेड टू माइंड एक्सेट्रा. असा काहीतरी हायपोथिसिस तिथे तुम्हाला फॉर्म्युलेट करायला लागेल. सो इट शुड बी लिमिटेड इन स्कोप, अदरवाइज इट विल बी वेग अँड अँबिग्युअस. इट शुड हॅव प्रॉपर टर्मिनॉलॉजी, अप्रोप्रिएट टर्मिनॉलॉजी, ज्याला आपण पारिभाषिक शब्द म्हणतो, ऑर द कीवर्ड्स. That hypothesis should consist of, those keywords. For example, जसं मी मगाशीच म्हटलं, एक स्तोत्रांचं उदाहरण दिलं. Suppose, somebody is saying that uttering mantras is helpful for improving health. Then one has to think whether it is testable. Can I test it? And can I prove it later? If I am not able to test, then hypothesis need to be discarded and maybe research topic also. Otherwise, if your hypothesis is wrong, then you can change the hypothesis. But if it is not testable, then how you are going to proceed in that particular research? It is not possible. Correct? Then assumptions. You need to assume certain things while doing research. And they are made by researchers in the beginning. Assumptions are made by researcher in the beginning of the research, and research is built upon those assumptions. गृहीतक ज्याला आपण म्हणू शकतो. आता ही गृहीतक कशा प्रकारची असतात? जसं मी मगाशी उदाहरणं दिली तुम्हाला. सपोज वन इज स्टडीइंग ऑन वाल्मिकी रामायण, characterization of Ram or characterization of Sita in Valmiki Ramayana. Now, are you going to prove what is the time period of Valmiki Ramayana? Definitely not. Then what you will do? In the beginning, definitely you need to discuss what is the time period of Valmiki Ramayana, because it is a scholarly endeavor. You just can't keep it in ambiguity and vagueness. की कधीतरी झाली रचना असं नाही तुम्ही म्हणू शकत. You have to discuss the opinions of the scholars. And then you have to assume that, oh, so all these scholars, are mostly, agreeing on this and this date. So you assume that, this date is authentic and you proceed. So at that time, that become your assumption, because you are not taking pain to ascertain the time period of that particular text. म्हणजे कालिदासाच्या काव्यातील उपमा अलंकाराचा अभ्यास करणं हे जर ध्येय असेल संशोधनाचं, तर तुम्ही कालिदासाचा काळ काय होता याची निश्चिती करण्याचं संशोधन करणार आहात का? डेफिनेटली नॉट. नाउ देर आर many debates on the Kalidasa's time period. Almost 3 dates, different dates are provided. Now those 3 dates you can put, and logically you can say that which date is more logical, that opinion you can take, and you can assume that that is true, and you proceed with other your research. मग तो काही असू शकेल, तो विक्रमादित्याच्या दरबारी होता का गुप्त काळातील होता, आणि ते मानून तुम्ही पुढचं जे संशोधन आहे ते करता. बट फॉर दॅट assumption is very necessary. Otherwise, what will happen, like for example, while critically analyzing Kalidasa's text, if you are making such comment that after reading Kalidasa's literature, about the women, the ornamentation, the concept of love, society, etc., that such and such was prevalent in Gupta period. Means was it assumed that Kalidasa was in Gupta period? Otherwise, your conclusion will be wrong. So certain assumptions are there in the beginning. म्हणजे बऱ्याचदा ही ॲझम्पशन्स गृहीतक जी आहेत ती साधारण काळाबद्दलची असतात किंवा अजूनही काही असू शकतील. इट डिपेंड्स ऑन पर्टिक्युलर रिसर्च टॉपिक. की महाभारताचा काळ हा मान्य केलेला आहे. सो whenever you will comment on the society which is reflected in Mahabharata, then you will be talking about that particular era. Okay. Or whenever you are talking about the society reflected in Upanishads, you're talking about that particular era. Society of Rigveda, you're talking about that particular. So you assume that the period of the composition was so and so. So you quote the opinions of scholar and assume that this is true. गृहीत धरलं तुम्ही ते बरोबर आहे, योग्य आहे आणि तुम्ही पुढे गेलात. ते सिद्ध करण्याच्या फंदात पडलेला नाही. अदरवाइज युअर एंटायर एनर्जी अँड टाइम विल गो वेस्ट in just proving those time period, and your main topic of research will be kept aside. ते बाजूलाच राहील. Okay, so assumptions are very important. Then we come to the different types of research. Okay. Now these types of research are not, what we can say, compartmental. म्हणजे अगदी त्यांची वर्गवारी आहे आणि त्याच पद्धतीने एखादा विषय जो आहे तो वर्गीकृत होऊ शकेल असं आपल्याला निश्चितपणे नाही सांगता येणार. समटाइम्स दे आर ओव्हरलॅपिंग ऑल्सो, बिकॉज दिस टाइप्स ऑफ रिसर्च आर इन जनरल, दे आर ऍप्लिकेबल टू ऑल काइंड्स ऑफ सब्जेक्ट्स. सगळ्याच एरियामध्ये जो रिसर्च होतो की नाही, संशोधन होतं, त्याचे हे ढोबळमानाने केलेले प्रकार आहेत. त्यामुळे जेव्हा आपण आपल्या विषयामध्ये संशोधन करणार आहोत तेव्हा हे सगळेच्या सगळे तसेच्या तसे लागू पडतील असे नाही. बट डेफिनेटली दे गिव्ह अस हिंट, इंडिकेशन अँड गायडन्स हाऊ टू चूज अवर रिसर्च टॉपिक, हाऊ टू गो अबाउट. त्याच्या दृष्टीने हे महत्वाचे आहेत. आणि याची तुम्हाला कदाचित अजून माहिती जी आहे ती पुढच्या लेक्चरमध्ये सुद्धा मिळेल, बिकॉज यू आर गोइंग टू लर्न अबाउट डिफरंट टाइप्स ऑफ रिसर्च पेपर्स, डिफरंट रिसर्च टाइप्स. सो प्युअर अँड अप्लाइड रिसर्च, मगाशी जे मी सांगितलं, सी वाय दिस टाइप्स आर नीडेड टू नो टू अंडरस्टँड कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ रिसर्च इन मोर डिटेल्ड वे. संशोधन म्हणजे नेमकं काय आहे ते अधिक स्पष्ट व्हायला त्याचे जे प्रकार आहेत ते बऱ्याचदा आपल्याला मदत करतात. जसं मी मगाशी म्हटलं की आपल्याला संशोधन म्हणजे ते उपयोजनात्मकच असायला पाहिजे असं वाटतं, समाजोपयोगीच असायला पाहिजे. बट इट इज नॉट नेसेसरी, बिकॉज देर आर ऍक्च्युअली टू टाइप्स ऑफ रिसर्च. One is called as pure basic or fundamental research and another is applied research. Pure basic or fundamental research means what? It is more a conceptual, theoretical, textual research. Then why it is undertaken? It is a quest for knowledge. अमुक एक असं का आहे हे शोधण्यासाठी म्हणून. Why, the Kalidasa is using Arthantaranyas. That may be your quest. Now, if you investigate that, how it is going to be beneficial for the society in day-to-day life? No, it may not be beneficial. But that doesn't mean that it is not research. It is a research. Okay. किंवा जर एखाद्याने अजून काही तसाच साहित्यिक संशोधनामधली एखादी संकल्पना घेतली की वक्रोक्ती हे तत्व कसं दिसतं बाणभट्टाच्या कादंबरीमध्ये, कन्सेप्ट ऑफ वक्रोक्ती इन बाणभट्टच कादंबरी, हाऊ इट इज गोइंग टू बेनिफिट द सोसायटी फ्रॉम इन डे टू डे लाईफ. सो बिकॉज दॅट इज नॉट अप्लाइड रिसर्च, इट इज जस्ट कॉन्सेप्च्युअल प्युअर रिसर्च और बेसिक रिसर्च और फंडामेंटल रिसर्च. हा, sometimes it may happen that that pure research can be applied in day-to-day life also. So suppose you are doing the research based on Arthashastra concepts. Okay. That his concept of kingship in Kautilya Arthashastra. So in the beginning that may form as a topic of pure research or fundamental research or basic research. Okay. Because you are first analyzing how Kautilya has formulated the concept of king and allied topics, subjects, etc. But later on, maybe, The another phase or another type of research can be how that concept of kingship can be applied in leadership science, in corporates, etc., or whosoever is a leader in society also. Because that those principles which Kautilya has given for the king can be applied to any type of leader. So you are applying that in the particular area. Okay. किंवा it can be related to teaching also. I have given certain examples in later slides, which you will come to know for applied research specifically. Or research can be divided into these also: descriptive, analytical, exploratory, and explanatory. See, the difference is very minute. Descriptive answers, see, as the name suggests, it is descriptive, वर्णनात्मक संशोधन. ह्याच्यामध्ये सखोल चर्चा केली जाते अनेक गोष्टींची. क्वेश्चन ऑफ हू, व्हॉट, वेन, हाऊ. एखाद्या काव्याबद्दल असेल तर ते कोणी लिहिलेलं आहे, काय आहे त्याच्यामध्ये, त्याच्यामध्ये कंटेंट काय आहे, कधी लिहिलं गेलं, कसं लिहिलेलं आहे, त्याची शैली काय आहे, व्हॉट इज द स्ट्रक्चर, व्हॉट इज द स्टाईल. Everything will be discussed about that particular topic. That is descriptive. Analytical is pertaining to particular concept or topic, not related, not like descriptive that you are answering everything. No, only pertaining to particular concept. Exploratory is something, exploring. Analytical म्हणजे विश्लेषणात्मक संशोधन असं म्हणायला लागेल. Exploratory means you are inventing something new which is not known, or understanding some new dimension of that problem. काहीतरी वेगळंच सांगितलेलं आहे, नव्याने काहीतरी उलगडून दाखवलेलं असेल, प्रथमच उलगडून दाखवलेलं असेल. दॅट विल बी एक्सप्लोरेटरी रिसर्च. आणि एक्सप्लेनेटरी इज एक्सप्लेन द कॉजेस ऑफ द प्रॉब्लेम. मगाशी आपण जे म्हटलं, रिसर्च प्रॉब्लेम असतो, एक संशोधनाची समस्या असते आणि त्याचं समर्थन करणे. अर्थात ह्या सगळ्यामध्ये रिसर्च प्रॉब्लेम असतोच, असं नाहीये की ह्याच्यामध्येच असतो, पण इथे तो जो एक प्रश्न असतो की नाही, त्याच्या समर्थनार्थच संपूर्ण संशोधन होताना दिसून येतं, हे लक्षात येईल. ह्याची आपण काही उदाहरणं बघणार आहोत. फक्त आता आपण एक प्रकार बघून घेऊया. देन देर इज क्वालिटेटिव्ह अँड क्वांटिटेटिव्ह रिसर्च. Qualitative is based on the facts which are reflected in the text, observations which are based on the text. And in quantitative, you apply the methods of statistical analysis. Now, see, most of the time our research or the research in our field is qualitative research, because we are investigating the concept of yoga, concept of kingship, अलंकार, किंवा ह्या वेगवेगळ्या ज्या संकल्पना, or some grammatical concept, that will be qualitative research. But suppose you are utilizing the statistical tools in that, then your research will be quantitative. For example, there are two books written by M.R. Yadi, Statistical Study of Ramayana and Statistical Study of Mahabharata. What he has done, he has deduced almost 5 phases of Ramayana and Mahabharata. हे रामायणाचं जे संकलन आहे ते वाल्मिकींनी केलं असं आपण म्हणतो. वाल्मिकी इज कन्सिडर्ड टू बी द ऑथर, बट ऍक्च्युअली वाल्मिकी इज नॉट द ऑथर, ही इज द कंपायलर, because Rama Katha was already in the tradition, in the oral tradition. So what Valmiki did, he compiled it and formed it in Adi Kavya, give it the poetic form, composition. एक काव्यबद्ध, छंदोबद्ध असं रामायण जे आहे ते त्यांनी लिहिलं असं आपण म्हणू शकतो. बट यार्दी on his statistical method identifies almost 5 different compilers. फक्त वाल्मिकीच नव्हे तर 5 होते असे, असं त्यांनी आयडेंटिफाय केलेलं आहे. आणि ते कशाच्या आधारावर? स्टॅटिस्टिकल स्टडी. So in MRERD's book, you will definitely get some statistical charts. Same is about Mahabharata also. We know three phases, Jaya, Bharata and Mahabharata, but he has identified such 5 stages on the basis of statistical study. म्हणजे अमुक एक शब्द किती वेळा आलेला आहे असा अभ्यास होऊ शकतो की नाही. ऋग्वेदामध्ये इंद्र हा शब्द किती वेळा आलेला आहे, इंद्र सुक्त किती आहे, तो शब्द किती वेळा. यू हॅव टू लिटरली काउंट इट. यू हॅव टू check the frequency, and on that, see, again quantitative research again can culminate into qualitative research also, huh? So on the basis of that, MRERD is able to prove that Uttarakanda is interpolated or the Balakanda is interpolated. बालकांड आणि उत्तरकांड ही प्रक्षिप्त आहेत, पण हे कशाच्या आधारावर सिद्ध करतात. क्वांटिटेटिव्ह अनालिसिस, स्टॅटिस्टिकल अनालिसिस. ओके, सो दॅट्स वाय इट इज नेसेसरी. So you may count sometimes, and based on that you are able to deduce something. You are able to conclude something. म्हणजे अगदी हा ग्रॅमॅटिकल अप्रोचने पण असा रिसर्च होऊ शकतो की अमुक एक प्रकारचं रूप जे आहे, व्याकरणाचं रूप, हे किती वेळा वापरलेलं आहे अमुक एका ग्रंथामध्ये. पण त्याच्यावरनं नेमकं तुम्हाला काय सांगायचं आहे हे आधी निश्चित पाहिजे, तर तुमची ही पद्धत जी आहे ती तुम्हाला तो जो अपेक्षित असणारा जो निर्णय आहे किंवा रिझल्ट आहे तो मिळवून देऊ शकेल. So quantitative methods are used, or there was one research done in our department by one student that was on the Sanskrit in Ayurvedic colleges at BA/MS level. So to what he had done, that he has taken the questionnaires and different tools to measure the effect. How many have taken, what was their effect, if it is taken then what, if not taken then what. Such kind of effects were calculated. मग तिथे क्वेश्चनेअर्स पण येतात कधी कधी क्वांटिटेटिव्ह मध्ये. ओके, so you give questionnaire suppose to 100 people, what are their answers, and then you analyze those. त्याचं विश्लेषण करायचं आणि त्याच्यावर आधारित काहीतरी निष्कर्ष मांडायचे, निरीक्षण नोंदवायचे आणि निष्कर्ष मांडायचे. तर अशा क्वांटिटेटिव्ह मेथड्सचा पण आपण आधार जर त्या विषयाची आवश्यकता असेल तर घेऊ शकतो. अर्थात विषयाची आवश्यकता नसेल तर उगीच त्याच्यामध्ये क्वेश्चनेअर किंवा अमुक तमुक घुसवण्याची आवश्यकता नाही. देन there are longitudinal and comparative. लॉंगिट्युडिनल म्हणजे एक प्रकारे एक रेषीय असं त्याला म्हणू शकतो, आणि कंपॅरेटिव्ह म्हणजे तुलनात्मक. Study of the problem or the same body of the phenomenon over the time. म्हणजे काय तर उदाहरणार्थ उपमा अलंकार इन कालिदासच पोएट्री, म्हणजे फक्त कालिदासाच्याच काव्यांचा मी विचार करणार. ओके, और dialogues in Bhasa's drama. I will just think about Bhasa's drama. Or the psychological concepts in Yoga Sutra. Okay. Or status of women in Vishnu Puran or Bhagavad Puran. That will be longitudinal. But suppose I am saying that Upama Alankar in Kalidasa's poetry and Bhasa's poetry, then it will be comparative. Okay. The concept of Maya as given by Shankaracharya and the concept of appearance as given by Kant, that will be comparative. Or concept of women in Ramayana and Mahabharata, that will be comparative. त्यामुळे असं पण नाहीये की संशोधन म्हणजे कायम तौलनिकच पाहिजे, नॉट नेसेसरी. मी मगाशी जे म्हटलं की why you need to understand these types. These types are not just compartmentalized. They can overlap in someone's topic. But why you need to understand is to get more clarity about the concept of research particularly. Because many feel that research has to be comparative. No, it is not so. If you adopt such comparative research, then it will be comparative. But yes, while analyzing, we have to compare with anything. So even in longitudinal research, you will tend to compare. Means, for example, even if you have taken Kalidasa's poetry, you will see in how Meghaduta reflects, differently, and Kumara Sambhava has it differently. And if Kalidas, before Kalidasa, Ashwaghosha has written poetries, then how it is different than Ashwaghosha? That comparison definitely will be there because that is the crux of research. ते तर असणारच, त्याच्याशिवाय होऊ शकत नाही ना. अर्थशास्त्रामधला जर तुम्ही काही कॉन्सेप्ट घेत असाल, दूत व्यवस्था, so what were there before अर्थशास्त्र, धर्मशास्त्र या ग्रंथांमध्ये त्याचं काय आहे हे तुम्हाला बघावंच लागणार. सो यू विल डेफिनेटली कम्पेअर, बट इट इज नॉट फोकसिंग ऑन कंपॅरेटिव्ह आस्पेक्ट. Okay, that basic comparison definitely will be there, but your research is not comparative. But sometimes the research topic itself is comparative. Okay, so similarities and differences in different units, different concepts, different texts, different literature also, it is possible. Okay. So I'll just give me 2 minutes. Till that, if you have any doubts, you can just post in the chat box. After this, we will be doing certain examples. Yeah. So yes, there can be quantitative research in Arthashastra also, but it depends on what you want to find out. Depending on particular word, concept, the occurrences, or sometimes, scholars also study the composition of the text, how the text was composed. Were there, certain phases of composition? So that can be investigated, through the quantitative approach. Yeah. So we have seen descriptive research that answer questions of who, what, when, how. So I have given certain examples at random. It is not that they can be taken as a topic of study as it is, because it totally depends on the factors. For example, time, the expertise of the researcher, the capability of the researcher, and whether that research topic is available, means if it is not done, before. So for example, critical study of the works of Acharya Devanandi, critical study of Ananda Ramayana, critical study of Vishnu Purana. Now, in all this, what you are supposed to do is You will answer all these questions. Who must have composed it? What are the contents of this particular text? When it was composed? Then how, particular principles are reflected in this particular text? अशा सगळ्या प्रश्नांची उत्तर तुम्हाला द्यावी लागतील. ओके. आता खरं तर क्रिटिकल स्टडी ऑफ विष्णू पुराण मे नॉट बी ऍक्च्युअली फॉर्म अ टॉपिक ऑल्सो, बिकॉज विष्णू पुराण इज स्टडीड बाय लॉट मेनी पीपल. But some, text which is not, studied much, like works of Acharya Devanandi. This is Jain Acharya, and the works are not known to the scholarly realm. So you can do critical study of those works, but you give, all these answers. And therefore it is called as descriptive research or critical study of Gheranda Samhita. So who has composed that? What is the time period? So if so and so is the time period, what kind of principles are reflected? How you can see the change from Yoga Sutra to Gheranda Samhita? Naturally, it will be reflecting, na? What are the contents? How, only these many contents are reflected? Is there any emphasis on asanas, pranayam, or other kriyas? Why it is so? But if you are specifically thinking on why this is so, then that will not form a descriptive research. Huh? Then it will go in another kind of research. If you are very, specific to a particular problem, like why suppose, particular set of asanas are more emphasized in Gheranda Samhita, then it will be a part of analytical research, specifically analyzing the particular concept. Concept of king in Kautilya Arthashastra, for example. Upama Alankara in Sanskrit poetics. Maya in Advaita Vedanta. Moksha in Upanishads. Or concept of dhyana in Yoga Upanishads. Concept of avatara in Vaishnava Puranas. See, these are just examples in order to understand how their research topics can be, formulated. Just to understand. Because when you are understanding the concept of dhyana, first you need to understand what is the meaning of the word dhyana. It is derived from which root. You have to first see the dictionaries and Kosha Vangmaya. Then you will see where the word dhyana occurs first. Correct. Then what was that meaning? Then how it is reflected in Yoga Upanishads. What is the meaning of it? How it is different than earlier text. Like that you will explore. So it is more and more analytical, विश्लेषणात्मक. तर बऱ्याचदा आपला जो रिसर्च संशोधनाचा जो प्रांत असतो तो विश्लेषणात्मक ह्याचा असतो. पण हे विश्लेषणात्मक संशोधन इतर प्रकारच्या रिसर्च मध्ये नाहीये असं नाहीये. मी मगाशीच तुम्हाला सांगितलं. So literary text is a set of symbols and signs. So collection of data through primary sources. And then we see, because we are doing a textual research, we also give importance to particular words. Why this word is used? Like for example, why the word Maya or why the word avidya? What is the meaning of avidya? So avidya, means what? It is the form of nai particle. So what are the meanings of nai? So nai has 6 meanings according to Mimamsa. So which meaning is taken by Advaita Vedanta and why? So avidya is opposite to vidya, or absence of vidya, or exclusion of vidya. What exactly? So like this our study may proceed. Okay. Or concept of king in Kautilya Arthashastra. So you explore that concept. According to him, what is the basic concept of king? Can it be correlated to other concepts of king? According to, Manusmriti, Yajnavalkya Smriti, there also reflects the idea of king. But how Kautilya identifies it in different way? What are the duties of the king, etc. So textual exegesis, basically. Text can be studied with multiple approaches. Literary, social, historical, and philosophical. And by that you will formulate, the direction of that analytical research. Like Upama Alankar. So Upama Alankara means what? What is the definition of Upama? there are many subtypes of Upama Alankar also. So which you are taking a standard text for analyzing, whether Mammat's Kavya Prakasha or Bhama's Kavyalankara or Appaya Dikshita's Kuvalayananda. What is the standard definition and standard, types of Upama Alankar? That you need to define first and then analyze. So Upama, what is the definition of Upama and how it is changing throughout the time? Why it was changing? So सर्वांगीण दृष्टीने तुम्ही त्याचा अभ्यास करणार आहात, सर्वांगीण दृष्टिकोनातून त्याचं विश्लेषण करणार आहात आणि विश्लेषण करताना एखादा दृष्टिकोन जो आहे तो गृहीत धरलेला आहे. मी मगाशी म्हटलं तसं, मग तो सामाजिक असेल, ऐतिहासिक असेल किंवा साहित्यिक असेल किंवा तत्वज्ञानात्मक असेल. Another type we had taken was exploratory research. To explore something. So it is a research conducted for a problem that is not been clearly identified yet. You came across it first. की आतापर्यंत कोणाला सुचलाच नाहीये हा विषय. असा काहीतरी विषय नव्याने शोधणे याला एक्सप्लोरेटरी रिसर्च म्हणतात. उदाहरणार्थ मी दिले तंत्रयुक्ती. Now तंत्रयुक्ती is currently explored by many people as a method of scientific writing, as a research methodology. Why? Because people were not aware. People were searching research methodology as a new area. Okay. संशोधन शास्त्र असं आपल्याकडे काही अस्तित्वात होतं हेच लोकांना माहिती नव्हतं. मग तंत्रयुक्ती हीच खरं तर आपली प्राचीन संशोधन पद्धती आहे का? So exploring that area. Or suppose exploring Ramayana. See, there are more than 300 Ramayanas, we know. So exploring some unknown Ramayana. There are many regional Ramayanas as well. So if you explore that, or any Sanskrit Ramayana which is not known to us, there are Ramayanas written by female writers also, feminine Ramayanas, exploring those, maybe exploratory research. So at that time you just explore that text की काय आहे त्या ग्रंथामध्ये, काय त्याचा कंटेंट आहे, कोणी लिहिलेलं आहे, कोणत्या काळात लिहिलेलं आहे, हे एवढं बेसिक सांगणं सुद्धा रिसर्च असतो. याचं कारण काय, त्याच्याबद्दल माहितीच नाहीये कोणाला. Mahabharata are also, versions are there. So if you explore some regional Mahabharata which was not known to people, then that will be exploratory and you have to give systematic information on that. Or even modern Sanskrit literature, because they are not explored by others. आधुनिक वाङ्मय जे आहे, कालिदासावर पुष्कळ लोकांनी काम करून झालं, चावून चोथा झाला तो विषय असं आपण म्हणू. But if you think Kalidasa from new perspective, still it will be a kind of research. योगसूत्रावर बरंच काम झालं, पण तरी सुद्धा योगसूत्रावर नवीन दृष्टिकोनातनं जर तुम्हाला काही काम करायचं असेल, still it will be a topic of research. Similarly, in modern Sanskrit literature, there are many genres. Like people are writing travelogue, short stories, which were not there in classical literature. Translated works are there. अनुवादित काव्य आहेत, कथा आहेत. So if you explore that, it will be definitely exploratory research. Exploring manuscripts हा तर अक्षरशः खूप महत्वाचा एरिया आहे, सगळ्यांनाच लागू असलेला, सर्वच शाखांना. If you explore some new text on yoga, okay, which is still in the manuscript form, not published yet at all. So you have to read it from the manuscript. What is the name of that text? When it was written, possibly. कशावर लिहिलंय, कोणत्या प्रकारच्या ह्याच्यावर लिहिलेलं आहे ते. Whether it is written on paper, palm leaf, or whether it is in which script. What is the language of that particular manuscript? And what is the content? So that content you are exploring for the first time. Same thing can happen with the inscription. पुराभिलेख जे असतात वेगवेगळे. You can explore. It is possible. Or sometime exploring some unknown or less known commentaries is also exploratory. Means you have read Kalidasa, but if you are एक्सप्लोरिंग सम अननोन कॉमेंट्री. मल्लीनाथ आपण वाचलेलं आहे, पण अशी काहीतरी तुम्हाला कॉमेंट्री मिळाली की जी फार कोणी वाचलेली नाहीये. सायणाचार्य हॅज कॉमेंटेड ऑन Vedic literature. But if you explore less known commentary on Vedas, then it will be exploratory. Or on Arthashastra, if you explore some unknown commentary and you find out the features of that commentary, content of that commentary, it will be exploratory. Sanskrit pedagogy is again a new field. म्हणजे काय, संस्कृत कसं शिकवावं, त्याची काही पद्धती असू शकते का? इट इज अ काइंड ऑफ रिसर्च. How to teach suppose Vedanta to students, because Vedanta is very complex subject, philosophy. So how can it reach to students effectively? तर त्याची काही नवीन पद्धती आपल्याला सांगता येऊ शकते का? किंवा ग्रामर असेल, पाणिनीय ग्रामर, त्याची काही नवीन पद्धती आहे का? सो when we think about that, we know that we learn grammar by this thing, प्रक्रिया. आपण सिद्धांत कौमुदी अभ्यासतो because the sutras are categorized according to particular topic, समास, संधी, etc. But Pushpa Dikshit has invented Paushpi Prakriya. According to her, Ashtadhyayi should be studied in the same order, not according to the Prakriya text. So that is the pedagogy which she has established. Computational linguistics, how Sanskrit and programming can be combined and research can be done. Or exploring treatises on ancient sciences. बरीचशी ह्याचे जे ग्रंथ आहेत ते अजूनही फारसे लोकांपर्यंत पोहोचलेले नाहीयेत. मेनली दे आर नॉट नोन टू द इवन द स्कॉलरली वर्ल्ड. मेनी टेक्स्ट ऑन मॅथमॅटिक्स, केमिस्ट्री, आर्किटेक्चर, बॉटनी, एक्सेट्रा. Yesterday only there was a lecture in our 60 lecture series on combinatorics, permutations and combinations, how it is seen in ancient text. That is definitely the new area which is explored. Or there was a lecture on Dhuma Vichitrikaranam, botanical, text. So that is also new area which is explored. तर अशी काही उदाहरणं देता येतील. Explanatory research. It is to explain that particular research problem or explaining the cause, basically. त्या कारणाचं तुम्ही समर्थन देत असता. See, earlier steps which I told you, that there will be observation, curiosity, research problem, hypothesis, they will be there. But afterwards, what you have to check is why it is so. For example, you do the statistical analysis of, the grammatical forms in Bhagavad Gita, and you came across some apaninian forms, non-Paninian forms. Then why they are reflected? Why Bhagavad Gita has non-Paninian forms? Then you analyze those and you give some justification. Status of women in Mahabharata. What kind of status is there? Women are more free, or they have freedom. Why it is so? How you can prove that? Or dana system in Puranas. Many a times Purana suggests to give donation. Why it is so? What kind of society it is reflected in Puranas? Why they have devised a dana system? What is the effect of that? Or style of Banabhatta. Banabhatta writes in long sentences. Gaudiya Shaili he adopts. Why he writes in Gaudiya Shaili? Spy system in Arthashastra, suppose. What is the system of spies in Arthashastra? How it can be analyzed? Why, it is reflected like that? So you have to provide the, explanation of that particular cause to your research problem. You have to explain that particular question, one particular question, that is explanatory research. Application-based research, as I was saying, you give solution to existing problem. In current scenario, your research can be useful. So many fields are open for action research, for applied research. It can be action research, as I said, how to teach grammar at school level, or how yoga can be taught to school students, can be a part of action research. Or what are the effects of yoga in school children? What are the effects of yoga in senior citizens? So that can be, action research, and you can, as a, conclusion of your research will be useful in application of something. So suppose your output is positive, you can say that yoga should be performed. This particular asana or this particular type of yoga should be performed by senior citizens. Applied aesthetics. We have the tradition of aesthetics from Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra. So whether Natya Shastra has therapeutic use, whether drama, dance performance or music can be used as a therapy, or can yoga be used as a therapy? That is application based research. Or leadership science. Can the principle of Arthashastra be applied as a leadership science? Like that. So here you can't apply as it is. First, you have to do careful investigation into text, into traditional knowledge. You have to bring the data. You have to understand. You have to reinterpret sometimes to suit the modern context. And then you can show the application. If you try to apply it as it is, there may be a problem also. So when in application oriented research, you have to mold it in, today's scenario. For example, on academia, there is one paper. I have paper of mine on Shukraniti from leadership perspective. So I have brought out the principle of Shukraniti about the kingship and how they can be applied as a leadership principles. So you can read that for understanding. Or one more paper is there on understanding Vedanta through films. That how Vedanta can be taught easily through films. So it can be fit into Sanskrit pedagogy. That if so, I had done experiments, suppose so to say, on certain students, that I had shown them Matrix, Inception, and based on this, and there was one more film actually. So based on 3 films, how understanding of Vedanta was very easy, how they could easily understand concept of Adhyasa, concept of Maya. So you can read that paper also, which is there on academia. So you will understand application based research. So applied research in many cases, as I give an example, application of Natya Shastra in ancient Indian arts, how principle of dance, music are reflected in Natya Shastra and how you can apply in performing arts, how aesthetics can be utilized in psychology, how yoga can be applied in daily life. But here you have to give a systematic study. It can't be, just based on your own experience. It can't be individualistic study. Okay. Or Arthashastra text, how application can be done in army. Okay. Or foreign policies, how foreign policies can be revised using Arthashastra text or other Niti Shastra text. That can be applied research. Comparative research, again, there are many ideas. You can compare certain, as far as the language is concerned, Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit are all, derived from the Indo-Aryan languages. So they have some similarities. So you can compare the grammatical formations between them, certain words, certain concepts, even the literature. For example, you can compare Valmiki Ramayana and Jain Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana and Bauddha Ramayana, or even the regional languages. For example, one can compare Valmiki Ramayana and Bhavartha Ramayana. It is possible. So comparing grammatical and linguistic peculiarities, or Yoga Sutra and how the concept of yoga are reflected in Jnaneshwari. One can compare in that because many concepts of yoga are reflected in Jnaneshwari. Jnaneshwari is a regional text. It is in Marathi, old Marathi. Literature across the language you can compare. If you find similar type of literature, suppose in Marathi, Hindi, English, definitely one can compare. Kautilya Arthashastra and Shukraniti, because Shukraniti is much later text, almost, belonging to 12th century or something. So one can compare between Kautilya Arthashastra and Shukraniti. How the idea of kingship change, how the war strategy change, how the idea of Kuta Yuddha change, etc. How the Vyuha Rachana changed. One can compare between Hatha Yoga, Pradipika and Giranda Samhita. Or Kalidasa's Meghaduta and other Duta Kavyas. Because after Kalidasa's Meghaduta, there was a trend of Duta Kavyas. Many Duta Kavyas were composed. Hamsa Dutam, Kokila Dutam, Nemi Dutam. So one can compare with them. Okay, what is the motive of this? What is the purpose of other Duta Kavyas? Why they were written? What was the motive behind that? Whether they are following the same trend, same storyline, or differing from Kalidas, one can compare. Then for analyzing further data, you have different approaches: philosophical, psychological, linguistic, sociological, historical. So need to have basic expertise, at least basic. But as you go deep into that, you will be able to apply it, that approach, very skillfully. So if you are doing psychological study of something, you need to have expertise in psychology. Okay, so I think in next lecture you will learn more about this, because it will come in data processing, etc. Okay, so now I will take questions. If you have any questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
During the session, you told, like, if somebody has to study Arthashastra or whatever method we will use, or the applied or anything, but knowledge of Sanskrit language will be equally important. So, will there be a difficulty doing research related to Arthashastra if there is a lack of proficiency in the Sanskrit language?
See, if you are understanding it, then it will add value to your research.
Okay.
Okay, therefore there is a Sanskrit Parishaya component introduced in all the courses. Okay, so definitely you can begin with translations as far as these courses are concerned: Arthashastra, Epics and Puranas, and Yoga Shastra as well. I know that you are not expert in Sanskrit, and this lecture was common to all. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So you can start with translation, but you can check which word is used for that. Okay, which word is used for that specifically. So because that word may connote different things. Word may have different meanings. That's why it is necessary to study the Sanskrit text. So if the word Raja is used, whether Raja has specific meaning. So Kalidasa etymologizes Raja Prakruti Ranjanat, etc. That, so whether that meaning is there or anything else, I'm just giving this example, so that Sanskrit word may throw light on some new aspect as well. That is why it is needed. But of course, you can start with translations and check for, the words which are used. And therefore, you must have observed while, your teachers are teaching you, even the syllabi, they are referring to the Sanskrit text. They are referring to those concepts in Sanskrit, how they are, mentioned in the text. Okay. So the primary text means without reading Kautilya Arthashastra, just reading the articles, you can't pass certain comment. You have to read Kautilya Arthashastra. That was my intention.
Okay. That is for sure. Without reading Arthashastra, just reading one.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes.
So, as a research methodology subject, we need to know how research methodology is going to be done. And do we need also to do some research methodology under this subject? Because for anatomy, we are doing one assignment saying that one asana you take, do the research and present a paper. So that is similarly to what I understand, but please need
Okay,
or please
means you
guide on this
want to
how this should
understand what
happen.
is the purpose of this paper, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So as I said, you have one class seminar for many papers. Okay. So in that
Yes.
you can use research methodology. In assignment also you can use, but why research methodology is there in this semester? Because in next 2 semesters, consecutive semesters, particularly in semester 3 and 4, you have 100 marks research dissertation. Okay, which is not possible without knowing research methodology. So you have to use this principle for doing that research dissertation. Another thing is you have to also implement this principle from now, because automatically in the 3rd semester you can't understand research methodology and implement. If you start practicing now, then it will be easy for you in 3rd and 4th semester. So what you can do is in class seminars, in assignment, you try to implement. It will not be, fully implemented. We are aware of that. It will take time to understand what is research. First, you have to understand, read research material, research paper. Someone else's research papers, at least you read for that. That will be helpful. आपण स्वतः संशोधन करायचं हे कदाचित तुम्हाला पटकन नाही कळणार, पण इतरांचे संशोधन जे आहे ते आपण वाचू शकतो. त्याच्यासाठी संशोधन पर लेखन जे आहे ते ओळखलं पाहिजे आणि ते वाचलं पाहिजे. ते आपल्याला निश्चित मार्गदर्शक ठरणार आहे. And another thing, research methodology is a paper. Okay, so you have to, so this is paper means you will have questions related to this to write in the paper. What is definition of research? What is hypothesis? Or what are the types of research? Such question. And apart from that, there is this internal assessment also for that. You have to do one research paper. You have to write one research paper, and you have to review one research paper. Are you understanding the difference?
Yeah, so I understood 3 things. One is the whole PPT, what you made me understand. That will be papers or questions on that PPT. Second, there will be an assignment on how to do research. And third is you have to review a research paper which someone has already done and give some quotes on that.
Yeah, so PPT can be utilized for writing answers, etc. But because one has to understand that. So after understanding that, you have to implement it, where you have to write a research paper. You can take any topic for that, depending on this. Okay, and another part is you have to review the research paper. You take someone else's research paper and review in the sense, what kind of research methodology is utilized? What is the research perspective? Like that. Okay. Is it clear to you or any question related to this?
No, I'm totally clear. I have no other questions.
So this is 100 marks paper for you in this semester, basically. Okay. So 50 marks paper you have to write in the exam, and 50 marks are for internal assessment. So in that 50 marks internal assessment, 20 marks for research paper writing. So you start thinking about the title of your paper. Another 20 marks for reviewing the paper. So select the paper which you want to review from your own area. And another 10 marks for your class performance attendance. Yeah. Another Ritu?
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to know that it will be throughout a term, it will be only one paper or 4 papers in different semesters?
No. We are talking about this term. But research methodology will be useful in further semesters also.
Okay. So we need to make 4 topics beforehand, if we can think of any
Why
4
4
topics on
topics?
research. For 4 semesters or only 1?
No, now just you think about this semester. Otherwise, it will be very confusing.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Ma'am, I want to have one clarification, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, for example, you were saying you can use a topic of therapeutic effect also.
Yes, yes.
For example, you select a particular either a asana or a pranayama and try to understand its therapeutic effect. And then also you can write. And but here I would like to just check what will be the sample size. For example, it should be the this experimenting or rather the study on how many people, minimum how many
Yeah, your voice is breaking a lot, but
people
I
required.
understood your question. Your voice is breaking a lot. See,
Response
first
will
of all, hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Your voice
Yes,
was
ma'am.
breaking a lot, but I have understood
Hello.
your question. So,
Yes,
basically, you will be able to complete such study in given time. That is also a very crucial question. Or otherwise, you can take some theoretical topic. Okay. Or you can refer to the research papers which, are already presented in this area and how you can apply those. Because otherwise, you have to conduct such experiments. And that sample size, which is necessary, basic sample size which is necessary. You can't perform that research on only 5 or 6 people, correct? There has to be some substantial number that you have to check. What is the minimum sample size which is required generally in research methodology books. It is given because otherwise your research may not be valid. So you have to choose that wisely.
Yeah. Okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, can I ask one more question? Do we need to mention that what type of research it is to be very specific, whether it was qualitative, quantitative, or that? Do we need to mention all that?
No. But it will be, it should be clear with yourself. Why that told is, if your research is suppose qualitative, you are just, analyzing the concept of yoga and still you are, counting the words, then it will be unnecessary effort, na? So it should be clear with yourself what is your objective. So there is one research aims and objectives. Generally, they are written in the beginning only. What is your research aim and objective? To do what? To do the analysis of the concept or to check the frequency of the word or like that? That should be clear with the researcher.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Namo Namaha, ma'am. Ma'am, I want to know that as you said that this one is especially for this semester.
Correct.
So I want to know that we should select a topic for our research from now, or we will get some guideline that you have to do research in such and such topic, or we can make it by our own.
Yeah. So again, I'm making it clear. See,
Yes,
now we are talking about this particular semester. In this particular semester, you have got this subject for 100 marks. And it is divided into 50-50. For 50 marks, you have to write exam. Means there will be questions. For example, types of research, explain, like that. And rest of the 50 marks, you have 20 marks paper, 20 marks review paper. So 20 marks research paper, you can choose your own topic. And in later semesters, you will have 100 marks fully dedicated to dissertation. वहां पे आपको पेपर नहीं लिखना है, आपको एक प्रबंध ही तैयार करना है, शोध प्रबंध. Okay, so for that your guide will be allocated to you, not in this semester, in next semesters.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Now it's clear. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay.
मॅडम,
हा
मगाशी तुम्ही एक हे सांगितलं ना की भाषेतलं संशोधन जे असतं
हम्म.
तर त्याचा डे टू डे लाईफ मध्ये उपयोग होणं किंवा न होणं
हम्म.
त्याच्याबद्दल काय हे आहे, म्हणजे भाषेतल्या संशोधनाचा डे टू डे लाईफ मध्ये सोसायटीला ऍज सच काय उपयोग होतो?
प्रत्येकच वेळी होईल असं नाही मी म्हटलं.
हा, पण म्हणजे ह्या बाबतीत ते आहे ना लागू, कारण तुम्ही नंतर एक्झाम्पल्स घेणार असं म्हणालात, म्हणून मी म्हटलं आता काही आलं त्याच्यामध्ये तर म्हणून थांबले ते.
सगळी मी
असं इथे लागू नाही होत ना?
सगळी जी उदाहरणं घेतली
नाही.
ती भाषेच्या संशोधनाबद्दलची होती ना.
हा, पण म्हणजे मग तिथे प्रत्येक वेळेस ते होतच असं नाही ना?
हा नाही, प्रत्येक वेळेस होतं असं नाहीये ना.
ओके ओके.
आता जर तुम्ही
Thank
काहीतरी
you.
समजा ह्याच्यावर अभ्यास केला,
हा.
सामासिक रूप,
हा.
उदाहरणार्थ कालिदासाच्या काव्यातली सामासिक रूप, तर त्याचा समाजाला
हा.
काय डायरेक्ट उपयोग होणार आहे?
हो ना. हा.
नाही ना. पण जर तुम्ही
नाही.
असं काहीतरी केलं की पाणिनीय सूत्राच्या उच्चारणाने काहीतरी फायदा होऊ शकतो,
हा. हा.
त्याचं उच्चारण सुधारतं, पण त्याच्यासाठी तुम्हाला पुन्हा प्रयोग करायला लागतील आणि मग त्याचा काहीतरी
हो.
समाजाला उपयोग होईल, तुमचं जेव्हा सिद्ध होईल तेव्हा.
आणि हा, ते जेव्हा त्याच्यात ऍड होईल, व्याकरणात ऍड होईल, त्याला मान्यता मिळून तेव्हा ते उपयोगी येईल,
हो,
राईट?
बरोबर बरोबर.
हा. थँक्यू.
Okay. So I think there are no questions.
हॅलो मॅडम, कॅन यू हिअर मी?
Yes, yes.
मला एक विचारायचं होतं,
हम्म.
एखादी गोष्ट रिवाईव्ह करणं परत
हो हो
आणि
हो.
संशोधन, मग हे दोन वेगळ्या आहेत का? ते दोन्ही एकत्र, म्हणजे कारण त्याच्यावर पण आपल्याला संशोधन केल्याशिवाय ते रिवाईव्ह नाही करता येणार आहे ना?
हो, ते संशोधनच आहे ना, त्याच्याशिवाय तुम्ही कसं रिवाइज करणार? रिवायझिंग द थिअरी,
हा.
सिद्धांत जो आहे त्याच्यात भर घालतो ना आपण. यू ऍड समथिंग इन दॅट, यू ऍड टू द कॉन्सेप्ट. ही कॉन्सेप्ट जी आहे अशी नाहीये.
ओके, म्हणजे ते एकच आहे, असं वेगवेगळं नाही आहे ते.
हा,
ओके ओके,
नक्कीच.
थँक्यू.
Students,
Yes, I think
I have posted attendance and feedback link in the chat box. You all have to fill that link, okay? Attendance and feedback link, okay? Please click on that link and fill the all data, okay?
Ajay sir,
Yes.
I think we will keep this link on, because otherwise again students will take 15 to 20 minutes to join again.
Okay. No problem.
Because in the beginning it was experience. So
Okay.
okay, then I am stopping here. Even after that, if you have doubts, definitely you can get back to me afterwards. Any concept is not understood, we can give a rethought. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a wonderful session.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Very informative.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
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 Thank you, ma'am.